Hey guys, this is Gordon, and today I'm going to be debunking the gender pay gap in film and television. Now, I'm not going to be using hard numbers, and I don't think I need to because I'm actually going to be accepting the conclusion that the gender pay gap exists. I believe that it does exist, and there's plenty of research on it that says that it exists, so I'm going to accept that it does exist. Now, usually once you accept this conclusion, you're led to believe that the cause is underlying sexism and misogyny in the film industry, the film and television industry. Now, this is what I'm going to be debunking. Even if there is underlying sexism and misogyny in the industry, I don't believe that would be the cause of a gender pay gap, that it would be the reason, the ultimate reason why women on average get paid less than men in the film and television industry. Now, let me give you a story, okay? Let's say I'm a producer. I'm a new producer. I have a huge budget. I can produce, 3 or 4 movies now in a single year. And I'm thinking, okay, to save money, I'm just going to use all female casts because I can pay women less than men. So ultimately, I'll save money on production because I'll spend less on my cast, but at the end of the day, I'll turn a bigger profit because I had less cost going into the movie, and I'm still getting the same return at the end. Let's say if I was producing movies at a similar quality to some other studio that's using men in their movies. This is not going to work, and we know this because people have tried it before and it hasn't panned out for them. The reason why is because even though I'll save money on production, I won't actually make all of that return because audiences tend not to want to see female-led projects. Now, that's not totally true because in horror, we know in the horror genre, most horror movies actually do star females. Now, why is that? I don't really know. I suppose it's because for the audience, they want to empathize with the main characters and they want to experience their fear. They want to actually be fearful for the main character. And what's the best way to do that? Well, you make the lead a female who we know in general is going to be at a physical disadvantage if let's say the villain is male or just the villain has some amount of great strength. And women tend to be better, more skilled at crying on camera. A lot of horror movies rely on crying, screaming, and tears as an effect in their films. So, when you look at the movie Alien, who does that star? Sigourney Weaver. That movie performed very well, and Sigourney Weaver, had her whole career launched off of that film series. So I don't necessarily believe it's across all genres, but when it comes to horror movies are low budget, by the way. So they have, even though you can spend less on a horror movie and make more when you compare budgets, like if I make a movie for 1 million and I make 20 million at the box office, well, I have a profit of 19 million now. But when you look at action movies where the budget, it might be 200 million, but I make 600 million. So percentage wise, I didn't make as much on the action movie, but overall, when you look at gross, I made 400 million is way more than 19 million. Okay. And who is the typical lead of an action movie? It's typically a man. Why is that? Well, it's because of you. It's because of the consumer. It's your fault. Consumers tend to want to see action movies with male leads, and action movies tend to make the most at the box office. So when we're averaging earnings from between men and women, action movies, which are performing way better than female-led projects like rom-coms and horror movies, we're going to find that men make more. So what happens if I want to make an action movie with a female lead? Am I going to pay her the same amount as a male lead? Well, I should, right? Because it's an action movie, and the only difference is the genre. The action movies make more, horror movies make less. If I put a female into an action movie, I should pay her the same amount as a male. Except no, because when you get that job, let's say you get cast, and they start negotiating rates, well, what's your agent going to do? or your manager, your team, what are they going to do when negotiating your rate? They're going to look at your past successes. They're going to look at your last movie, your last 2 films, your last 3 films. What was the box office success of those movies? And they're going to say, you should pay her this amount based on her previous earnings, because this movie is going to make a profit based upon the person I'm representing, their past box office successes. This determines that that the audience is going to be willing to come out in this amount and spend this amount of money on a movie that she stars in. Except her previous projects didn't make as much as the male co-stars' previous projects. So when you look at Jurassic World and you have Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, well, Chris Pratt's previous films made way more at the box office than Bryce Dallas Howard. So the fact that she was paid anything close to Chris Pratt for that movie would be insane. And she said she wasn't. But when she brought it up to Chris, he fought for her to get paid an equal wage, which great for Chris. I'm happy for everyone to get paid an equal amount, of course, but I don't blame the studio for trying to pay her less. There wasn't enough that her team could look at and negotiate for a higher wage for her, because it just didn't exist. And again, the reason that the data did not support her getting paid more is not because of sexism and misogyny in the film industry, even though I can accept that there is some. I mean, look at Harvey Weinstein. It's because of you. Again, it's because of you, the consumer. You fail in every regard when there is a female-led superhero movie or action movie to show up in the same numbers as you do when there is a male-led action movie or superhero movie. It's not the studio being sexist and paying women less. It's because there's no data to suggest that they should pay women an equal amount to men. They're not going to turn as much of a profit off of the female star as they are the male star. It just hasn't happened that way. So it's not their fault. It's your fault. It's our fault. And I don't think that we're sexist or misogynistic either. I don't think that's the cause. I don't know what the reason is. I just know that we tend to not spend our money on those female-led movies as we do the male-led movies when it comes to those big budget projects that ultimately determine the average, or the anchor for the average wages between genders. That's all I have to say on the topic. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, and maybe there's a counter argument to what I've stated today, but I don't believe that, let's say that there is sexism and misogyny and whatever else in the film industry. I don't believe that would be the cause for the pay disparity between genders. I believe it's the consumers. I believe it's us. And I don't know why we tend to spend less on those projects. I don't know. I just know that. I think it's our fault. And if you want to change that, then you need to go start seeing, female-led projects more and stop watching the male ones. I don't think that's going to happen because it's not about the individuals. It's about the whole of the consumer base. And as a whole, the consumer base just is not going to change their ways. They're just not going to. All right, guys, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.